Okay, here we go again. Morning, everyone. So it's Mel Bodie here again. So this is day 19 of compassionate response to coronavirus crisis, and so we're about halfway through looking at the the teaching of the Buddha on mindfulness, the four foundations of mindfulness. So we've been spending 2 days on each of the four foundations of mindfulness, and yesterday we did the final one on mindfulness of feeling. So today we're going to move on to mindfulness of mind. So the Pali word, the ancient Indian language, Pali, is chitta. So it means something like the psyche, but in a way it's everything that's to do with action, that's to do with the mind. So it's mind in the biggest sense. So it includes emotions, it includes attention, and it includes thinking. So this is what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at how mind, all those things, kind of condition everything else. And we've looked at some of this before because some of the links will have come up in previous days. I think particularly today we're going to look at a little bit at thinking and at what insight is, or insight meditation, vipassana, but also to look at how that's seen in different Buddhist traditions. And I'll talk a little bit about Buddhist visualization practice, archetypal visualization of Buddhist archetypes. So it'll follow on nicely from yesterday when I talked about the higher states of consciousness called dhyanas. But first of all, we need to get ourselves into get our mind and body connected together, so that our body's supporting our mind, and our mind knows what knows how to deal with the body. So I was sort of thinking, like, it'd be good to just get some kind of uprightness going. I was thinking, like, sometimes when you're meditating, it's quite helpful if you think of an arrow coming from the centre of your chest and it's pointing kind of forwards and upwards, a bit like that. So it's like lifting the front of the chest, and it gives us this kind of like noble aspect. I think when we're facing, so in a way what we're going to be talking about today is how we face reality, both in life but also in meditation. So to face reality, we have to have this noble aspect, this uprightness, this kind of I talked yesterday about kind of buoyant mental states, but also in a way buoyant bodily states, so that our energy is kind of like is up, and that we're able to to take things in and not collapse. So like when I was talking earlier in the week about watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon film, and the master in that, how he just had this kind of noble aspect, and he would just stand there with his sword behind his back, and but he was ready for anything that was going to come his way. So we'll try and kind of evoke this a little bit today. So if you want to stand up, we'll do some body work and then do some meditation after that. Okay. Okay, so beginning by just rub your hands together and just wait, generate a bit of heat. Maybe just put that on your face. So in a sense you need to kind of warm yourself up a little bit. Wake your mind up. Backs of your hands. And then just brushing down your arms. Other side. Down your torso. So when we're working with the body, sometimes it's the subtle movements and sensations that are actually kind of powerful. So sometimes just brushing down the body can have quite a powerful effect on our energy. Just seeing how that works within your own experience for future reference. We don't always need to be doing star jumps and things. And then let's just do the gentle Qigong movement, just side to side. And just as you're doing this, just experiencing what it's like to have the air rushing past your arms. And again, just remember that arrow pointing upwards from the centre of your chest. So it's lifting up your chest into this noble aspect. And just rotating on the axis of your spine. So every time you get to the extreme side, just enjoying the extra little stretch that happens as you just let the momentum of the turn twist your spine a little bit more. And then just come to a stop, and just slow rotation of the hips. And just put one arm over the top like that, and then just have a sense of little movements, just pushing the lower arm down and just pulling up on this side, just little stretches. Stretch on one side, push down on the other side, just little kind of movements just to stretch that side. And yeah, again, just mind and body together, so one isn't leading the other, they're both in the same place. Slowing down if you need to. And then the other side. Pulling up on one side, pushing down on the other. Little movements, backwards and forwards. And then, I don't know what day it was. I think it might have been the day that we did Virocina, the White Buddha, last week. But I talked about the lion's roar, and my friend Dhamma Bandhu, he used to play around with Tai Chi and do lion Tai Chi. So let's do a sort of very slow kind of lion-like movement. So it's like just this sort of thing. Go forward on the other foot this time. One last one. So notice what effect that had on your mind. Okay, so that was working us up a little bit, hopefully. So now we're just going to try and smooth that energy out. And we'll do a little bit of shaking again. So just so it's put your hands facing outwards down there, and then bend your knees, and you're having your back curved over like that, and then just do this. Just shake everything, and just make your breathing noisy. Hands pointing outwards. Okay, and then just putting your hands on your stomach, bend your knees slightly. And when you notice you breathing in, just bringing your hands up to your chin, and then turning and then taking them down and bending your knees on the out breath, so you're going down and then coming up on the in breath to your chin, turning at the chin, taking the hands down, so your hips, and then coming up again and then down, coming up and down, and then next time keep going past your chin up into the air, out to the sides, and another one. Okay, and then just take a seat. So today's topic is contemplation of mind as mind. So with all of the four foundations, we're looking at being in the right place, so being in the right domain. So it's like we're trying to work from the mind outwards, the condition of the mind. So yeah, so we're going to look at reflection and insight, those sorts of things, and I'll just say a little bit about just to preface that, and then we'll do some meditation. So in the Buddhist tradition, there are two kind of basic strands of the Buddhist tradition. There's Theravada Buddhism, So hopefully I've solved the mirroring problem here, because it used to be back to front. I hope this is the right way around. Theravada Buddhism. So the tendency in Theravada Buddhism is to focus on how things are impermanent and fall apart, and just noticing all the time. That's what the practice in that tradition is like. It's like the monks just keep looking at, what's the nature of my experience. Aware that I'm moving, aware that I'm lifting my hand, aware that I'm reaching for something, aware that I'm... So everything, there's a thing called noting. It's just breaking everything down so that you're really aware of absolutely everything. And in a way, that grounding meditation that we do is a bit like that. It's like, really, if you really know what's happening, then it brings a sense of reassurance. And then you've got the Mahayana tradition, which is the Dalai Lama's part of, so Tibetan Buddhism, and other traditions like Zen, and in that tradition, well, in Tibetan Buddhism, you've got archetypal Buddhas. So here is an archetypal Buddhist deity called Avalokiteshvara, which means the Lord who looks down in compassion. This is a figure that Tibetan Buddhists and also Buddhists in the West might meditate on a daily basis, in order to try and become more compassionate. So in a way, the image is a kind of template for what compassion might look like. So this particular form of Avalokiteshvara's got 4 arms, and so the idea is that those arms reach out to help all beings everywhere, and there's something in each hand, and it's like Avalokiteshvara's giving what's needed to those particular beings, and he's sitting on a lotus flower there, and that lotus is a symbol that represents the fact that this is an enlightened figure that we're dealing with, and in a way that we need to approach it's a symbol, so it's a symbol to meditate upon. So you got these 2 ways in which in a way reality can be approached through the kind of Theravada approach, which is a bit more like analytical and kind of dry, a bit more dry, and then you've got the more kind of colourful approach of Tibetan Buddhism, which is, so that blue sky in the background is a symbol for the way that things are. In a way, that the blue sky is the equivalent of the reflection on impermanence. So the deeper truth about things isn't that things are impermanent; it is that they're conditioned. So that's the bottom line teaching of the Buddha. That things arise in dependence on conditions, and because of that, that's why they're impermanent. Everything in conditioned existence is impermanent. So it's kind of it's a deeper truth than the fact of impermanence. And in a way, if we just focus on impermanence, we're not focusing on the positive things that come about through conditionality. So, if we focus on just on impermanence, that's about how things fall apart, But actually, things come into being because of conditionality. So if you put the right conditions in place, then you can create what you need in life, and you can create enlightenment. You can create happiness, you can overcome suffering, and all that sort of thing. So these are the kind of two basic Buddhist approaches to insight. And I think the last night we did people in this group, there's about 12 of us, I think, did a puja. So we did a sevenfold puja. So we did a devotional ceremony to the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas. So Bodhisattvas are figures like Avalokiteshvara, who represents compassion. You've got other ones that represent wisdom and energy and different things like that. So we did one on Zoom, and with there being people around the world in India and other places, it was like there's this time delay when we're doing it call and response, and it was all a bit crazy, chaotic, really. But at the end, I think we were really, there was some, it still worked in a certain sort of way, even though it was chaotic, and at the end there was that peacefulness, and I think I felt, rather than just me speaking into this iPad, every day, and there not being a feedback loop, it was great to just be with people, be with other people from this group, and be together, and to see people's faces and see people smiling and enjoying the puja and all that, and enjoying the chaos, So yeah, so I think our emotions. So when we do things like puja, our emotions, often do it collectively. So our emotions engage with each other, and engage with the images and symbols, the archetypal symbols that we're engaging with, and the idea of enlightenment. So so I think that our emotions need to be on board, really, with any kind of reflection on how things are. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little visualization practice. Well, first of all, we'll do a little body awareness, but we're going to do a little visualization practice, just to try and kind of bring this idea to this Mahayana idea into our experience. We'll try and experience it. Okay, so, and then after that we'll go through. I'll talk a little bit more about the theory again. So so if you've not been here before, and just find a chair to sit on, or if you've got meditation cushions, use those. And just connect with your body, and just try and reconnect with any good vitality that you connected with when we're doing the body work, and particularly that idea of an arrow in the chest pointing upwards. That's imagining that's lifting your body up, lifting your chest up into a kind of noble aspect. So as with any symbolism, a symbol it represents something to do with reality. So all symbols represent are representations of an aspect of reality. So when we're imagining something like a symbol, like the blue sky, so the blue sky represents the fact that all things are conditioned and therefore impermanent. So things appear out of the blue sky and then disappear into it, depending on conditions. So when we think of a cloud appearing in the sky and then disappearing, if the moisture levels, the the right level. If it then becomes too hot, it'll evaporate. So we can imagine that there's the world out there, and in here, everything that we can experience is we can see it as just what we're experiencing, the phenomenal world. That's true. The phenomenal world is true. Is what that's over there, and over here is the symbolic world is true as well. So the nature of all this is this blue sky. We can swap the two. We can say, this is what appears to me, and this represents the nature of that appearance. So here's the room I'm in. The room I'm in is of the nature of the blue sky, in that it appears because of conditions and disappears when those conditions cease. So, and it's like that with everything. It's like that with material objects. It's like that with our mental states and our thoughts and everything. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a little kind of visualization of that, so that we're imagining that the nature of everything is the blue sky, and then we're going to imagine something appearing in that sky, it'll just be something simple. So closing your eyes and just connecting with your body, and just allowing your body to just sit there. And connecting with how you're feeling at the moment. And maybe watching a few breaths. So watching the breaths represents the fact that we need to have a kind of sharpness of attention to bring to this, to bring to reflection if we're going to be successful with it. And also connecting with our heart area and just having a sense of being behind our own lives. Maybe imagine, just put your hand in your imagination in the centre of your back, and it's just giving you some support and comfort. Encouragement. So wishing ourselves well. Wishing others well. This is representing the fact that we need to be positive, to have a positive outlook, to feel supported if we're going to turn ourselves towards facing reality, how reality is. So as I said yesterday about samatha meditation, so whenever we're kind of bringing things to mind that are about reality, we need to keep coming back to developing awareness, developing loving kindness, reconnecting with our friends and people we look up to. And then just beginning this little kind of reflection or insight exercise by just being aware of the world of appearances out there. So everything that you're experiencing, the physical world, and your internal world of your body and your feelings and your mental states and your views about things. Just the whole world of appearances. Just having a sense of that being over here on one side, on your left hand side, and just imagine that, seeing how that stretches out to infinity, that world, that phenomenal world, in all directions. And then on the other side, on your right hand side, just imagine how all of that is represented, or can be represented, by a blue sky, by a clear, translucent, brilliant blue sky. Maybe make it electric blue. So on the one hand you've got the world as you see it, as it appears, that's true. And then on the other hand you have this blue sky stretching infinitely in all directions, that's emotionally appealing to you. something that you like, and that's true as well. So it's of the nature, that world of appearances is of the nature of that blue sky. So just playing around with just switching between the two. It's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. So things are as they appear, things are conditioned. Things are as they appear, things are conditioned. Things are as they appear, things are conditioned. Stretching to infinity, things are as they appear. Stretching to infinity, things are as things are conditioned, as represented by the blue sky. And if you don't, not everybody finds visualizing things easy. I do, because I'm an artist type. But just if that's the case for you, just have it represented by something else, maybe a feeling in your body, or sound even. Some kind of symbol. So now we're just going to imagine that into this blue sky appears a flower. It's a beautiful lotus flower. So just imagine that it's just opening, and it's becoming fully opened. And on that lotus flower appears a Buddha sitting on a white mat. So just have a sense of, what does a Buddha mean to you? What would you like a Buddha mean to mean to you? So again, just keep coming back to the two things. On the left, this is the world of appearances. That's true. On the right, this is the world of the nature of things, which is conditioned, as represented by a blue sky, now with a Buddha sitting in it on a lotus flower. And just try to have a sense of what that represents. So the flower opens when the conditions are right, and the flower, a normal flower, will wither and die when the conditions don't support that flower anymore. But having a sense that the flower that the Buddha is sitting upon just keeps flowering. So it's like, the Buddha isn't affected in his own mind by impermanence, by old age, by sickness, by death. So he's staying positive under all circumstances, and he's flowering, which means, in a way, he's being skillful, compassionate, wise, under all circumstances. So even when he creates something that for other people, like say maybe he's generous and he gives a teaching to somebody, and then that person forgets that. Well, he expects that to happen because things are impermanent and unsatisfactory, so he doesn't get upset about it. He just keeps teaching people. He keeps bringing into being things that are going to help people in the world, and he expects them to fall apart. So we have a sense of perpetual self-transcendence. So let's come back to it again. So on the left-hand side, how everything appears, and then there's this possibility on the right-hand side of the blue sky and the Buddha and the lotus flower, of staying positive in relation to all of that. And again, if you just coming back to your breath, watching your breath, coming back to a sense of feeling supported by your friends, by people you can talk to, by your own loving kindness practice towards yourself and others. So we always need to keep coming back to samatha meditation, getting into a positive state of mind, working with our body. Whenever we're working in this sort of area, we're trying to sort of take in how things are. So most of us at the moment are being faced with a lot of input, to do with a lot of suffering and worry and anxiety as the virus takes over and we feel it getting closer to us and our lives and our friends. So in a way, there's a kind of enforced meditation on reality is kind of happening to us. So what we need to do there is keep bringing to mind that, this is the nature of things. Things are conditioned; they do fall apart. But positive things also come into being through conditionality. We can keep being friendly. We can keep being caring for each other, even though things are difficult to face, difficult to take in. And our emotions can be fed by this image of a blue sky, something pleasant there that represents the fact that, it's not that this is part of life. So in poetry, we often get we get beautiful language and beautiful imagery, but also poetry very often is referring to realities like impermanence and change. So we need this kind of poetic aspect to our reflections. We need to be able to see things a bit more poetically. So again, just what we're actually seeing, phenomena, appearances, and then poetry. So now just let this image dissolve of the Buddha on the flower, and just let this blue sky gradually dissolve back into the world of appearances. So we just got the world of appearances in front of us. we're just going to spend a few minutes just being with ourselves, just having a sense of being kind of close to yourself and your feelings, how do you feel about all of that. So as my friend Ratnajyoti used to say, if I know how I'm feeling, then I'm always going to be all right. And remembering the arrow again, pointing upwards from your chest, lifting you up into a noble aspect. So taking your time to come out of that meditation. And if any of you have anything that you want to kind of go into around in this area, questions and things, just put them in the comments box or comments underneath, and I'll try and address them tomorrow. So try and make it a bit more interactive, these classes. Okay, so I'm going to move in over again to the kitchen so we can look at some of the theory behind contemplating the mind as the mind. Okay, we had a broadband issue there for a minute. It is doing the mirroring is working, but it's a bit weird to get used to. So I'm on the other side now. Okay, so today we're going to start looking at mindfulness of the mind. So I said in earlier talks that so mind here is chitta, and it has three aspects to it. It has aspects of attention. So what we pay attention. How do we pay attention? Do we pay attention? Are we distracted or are we concentrated? It has the aspect of emotion, so attention tends to be conditioned by body, emotion by feeling. So this is just pleasure and pain, and then we have a response to that. And then we have thinking as well, so which is conditioned by having different views to cope with. So today we're going to look at what the mind, the effect the mind has on the other foundations and we have covered some of these in earlier talks. So we've covered how the mind affects the body. So this is things like when we get angry, we experience tension in the body. So things manifest in the body due to our mental and emotional states. So if we're going to make our body a happy place, then we need to work on our mental states that might be conditioning tension. And we've done this one as well. So this was it yesterday, I think? Ethical feeling. So worldly feeling and spiritual feeling. So our mental states having an effect on our feelings. So when we say we're in a mental state of aversion, and then we see somebody we don't like, it's painful to us, and we want to avoid them and go another direction. So the only way we work on that is by changing our mental state. So we might do the loving kindness meditation to and that would then get rid of that feeling, because the feeling is dependent on aversion. So we did that yesterday. So we've just got this one to look at now. So how mind conditions views. So in a way, you can just sum this up by saying reflection. So when we think about things, we reflect on them, then that has an effect on our view, right? But it can go in two directions, really. So there's conscious reflection and there's unconscious reflection, or in a way what we call papanca. So if we're just lazily dreaming about our next holiday, and we're just imagining all the things that we're going to experience on the holiday, and it's like it's mental proliferation around a desire, and it just reinforces the idea that that holiday is the thing that's going to bring us happiness and fulfillment. So we put all our eggs in that basket, but maybe we haven't reflected on that clearly enough, really. Because we might have been planning a holiday later this year. Well, in fact, my brother was going to Australia, and then the virus happens, and that's no longer a possibility. So he's now going to not be able to have that holiday. So in a way, if reflection is like bringing a real view in to things. So so when things fall apart, things that are subjected to decay fall apart, we're often disappointed. But if we reflect on the nature of those things, so holidays are of the nature of falling apart. If the conditions that support them aren't there, so the virus happens, the holiday falls apart. So by reflecting like that, we get to a closer view about reality. So what is a view in in Buddhism? So you might think, a view is just an opinion that I have, So, for instance, it's a good. It might be I might have an opinion that it's a good idea to give up smoking. Everybody probably thinks that. But do I give up smoking? Well, no, of course I don't. Because what's more important than what we think intellectually is what's happening deep down in our psyche, emotionally, all our fears and desires and all that sort of thing. So, emotionally, the thought of if I smoke, of having that taken away, and then experiencing things that maybe that is helping damp down, like deeper fears, deeper feelings and stuff. I really don't want to experience that. So what I do is I keep smoking and keep that down, keep it hidden. So, but we're like that with everything. We're constantly trying to distract ourselves from our deeper fears and desires and stuff. Any kind of compulsive behaviour is doing something like that. So there's something about if we're going to transform ourselves and to become Buddhas, enlightened, or in any way be able to cope better with life, it's like we've got to sort of start trying to transform those deeper emotions and make it. If our views are correct, if we think something that is actually the case. So if I think, oh yeah, well I know that things are impermanent intellectually. I know that intellectually. Then I know it. But it's like, how do I make that go deeper so that I really know it on a kind of emotional level, and even on a kind of bodily level, so that when something happens, when something falls apart, when somebody dies, that I can accept it on a deep level, that it's I'm not emotionally freaked out by it, or I don't tense up in my body around it. I'm not paralysed by fear. So this truth is represented in Buddhism by what are called the three levels of wisdom. So wisdom, the word for wisdom is prajna in Sanskrit, or panya in Pali, and there are three levels of that. So the first level is a bit like what I was saying about intellectual understanding. It's sutta maya prajna, so it means wisdom through hearing. So I might listen to a talk. Hi, Alan. I might listen to a talk on Buddhism and get a load of information about how things are, according to the Buddhist tradition, and I go, oh right, that's really satisfying. I get that. That makes sense. That sort of thing. So this is sutta maya prajna. But then the next level is where I somehow kind of make that my own. So I reflect on it, and I've done a lot of reflection over the last 16 years that I've been working on my book, trying to understand things and in a way make them my own. So a lot of this work has come out of that. Again, it's a little bit on an intellectual level that it's not just other people's ideas. It's more that they've become my ideas and ones that really work for me. So in a way, we've all got to do that with whatever we take in. We've got to turn it into something that we can use, that we use regularly, and as our way of dealing with things. But ultimately, it's got to go right down and kind of transform our deeper being. And so the third level of wisdom. So the second level is is wisdom through reflection, or thinking, chintamaya pranya. So we think about things, reflect on them and make them our own. And then the third level is bhavanamaya pranya. So that is wisdom through meditating. So when, in a way, we could say that what meditation is about is taking things and then just really transforming ourselves in the light of those. So it's like it is converting the whole of our being into line with that, whatever that thing is. So how do we do that? How do we take our intellectual understandings into real deep understandings about, So one of the ways that I've talked about yesterday was like this, the idea of dhyana in meditation. So cultivating qualities like flexibility, emotional flexibility, mental flexibility, bodily flexibility, buoyancy, proficiency, ethical uprightness, adaptability, all this. So we have to develop these qualities within ourselves in order to take that reality in. So we might do that in meditation. We do it through actually turning towards and facing and trying, well, as best we can, to try and face whatever is going on, whatever change is happening and all that sort of thing. But we need to do that, just remembering conditionality, we need to do that by working with conditions. So I mentioned in the meditation about friends. So having friends to talk to, having people we look up to, who we think have got some wisdom in them, talk to them, it's like accessing the whole raft of conditions that are there. Think about it. Take in things like this, regularly. Regular reflections on how things are. And just relax. Try and relax around it. Try and sort of see what you can change, see what you can't change, and accept what you can't change, and have the courage to change what you can change, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. So that's the serenity prayer from Alcoholics Anonymous that people often refer to in mindfulness courses. And just trying to remember that image of the Buddha in the blue sky, that there is a possibility to if you can have develop confidence in that we can all make progress towards some sort of ideal whereby it's possible, to deal with, we have the idea that it's possible to deal with anything that's going to come towards us, old age, sickness, death, all of that. So that's represented by this positive image of the Buddha sitting on a lotus in the infinite blue sky. So I think, like, just through today, maybe what might be a good idea to practice just doing this thing where you kind of aware that on your left hand side you've got the world of phenomena, of appearances, everything that appears to you, including your internal stuff that's going on. That's the world of appearances. And then on the other side, on the right hand side, there's this symbol of the blue sky, which represents conditionality, how things come about through conditions. But within all of that, how that it's possible for something to come into being that actually can cope with everything, with all experience, no matter how painful or how impermanent or whatever, so, and that's represented by the image of the Buddha, or you could have another figure that that you relate to, where you think, oh, this is something I like to keep bringing to mind. So there's two things: the phenomenal world, world of phenomena things are the phenomenal world. Things are the symbol of the blue sky. The two things are there at the same time. The world of appearances, the world of symbolism and poetry. And maybe find some poetry that you really resonate with. That'll have some of this in there. It'll have this beauty, and it'll have the the truth about things in there as well. That's been today's session. I've got onto insight after talking yesterday about samatha meditation, and then tomorrow we're going to look at how the mind is conditioned by the other foundations. So I wish you well today, and I wish you safety, and I wish you all your friends and relations safety as well, and see you tomorrow. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.